I think it's all working today. I really wonder why I'm doing this at like 9 p.m. after a whole day of work and after eating, but I do. And today we're going to be continuing working on my JavaScript Sandbox Repl. I've actually given it a real project name. It's called Jesus, right? Because JavaScript Jesus. And it's there to deliver us from all our sins. The sins of using LLMs in a boring and uncool fashion. And it's there to guide us on the path to extracting the most magic out of LLMs. And I think last time when we stopped, I had managed to make it work with calling LLMs through my Geppetto framework, but we didn't have streaming, which would be a nice thing to have, and would be a nice thing to have, especially publishing it over server-side events, or maybe WebSockets, who knows, to a web frontend. So that way we can build like full chat interfaces using a self-contained JavaScript sandbox. I've also built like a command line REPL, and as is with all the LLM coding that I do, I actually don't really remember what I did because I've since written 20,000 lines of other code, and that was 2 days ago. So we'll see where we're at. I made this like a standalone project. I know I've done a few open AI deep researches on potentially how to build this. I've printed out a couple of my Goja handbooks because I actually think I need to learn more about Goja at some point to know better what I'm doing. So let's get right into it. I probably will have to close a bunch of stuff that I was doing before because I haven't prepared shit as usual. So let me close all of this. We're going to use Amcode. And we're going to use... Let me see. All of this good? All of this good? All of this good? Good, 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 good. We're going to launch Cursor. And let me actually see which workspaces I have open. This is starting to bug me that it breaks the display. We have Slack, webhook, streaming JS support. See, we have a streaming JS support. And I wonder if my new Jesus repo has actually already been recognized. No, so we're going to use the Workspace Manager, which, by the way, is the first program that I kind of never really looked at the code at all, which really is kind of a first for me because I'm using it every day now, and it works pretty well. I think we now have Jesus, right? And we have this checkout called Add Streaming JS Support, which we're going to go look at, and we can look at the status of this workspace that I created. So by the way, I also extracted this into a separate repo this weekend. So if you want to use this, it's available at Golem's Workspace Manager. As said, I actually don't know how this code works. Oh, I see that there's a check that's broken. Interesting. Secret scanning. I think that just fails because the branch is the same. And then what was the other one? The vuln dev. That's like some Go weird ass shit for the latest Go version. It's like really annoying. Yeah. This irritates me so much. Anyway, Golem's Workspace Manager, get it. It's pretty cool. I legitimately use it a lot. And so we can look at, this is in line with the top level. And then in Pinocchio, what is going on here? I think this is just extracting scripts out. And so it looks like I haven't done very much except extracting out scripts for this little runner I have for JavaScript programs. And I actually don't really remember if it even works, right? So if we do experiments.js, and then I can do run, and then I can give it at least one argument. So experiments.js scripts, and then we're just going to do step test. I don't know what this does. And okay, I think I remember what this was. We should be getting some nice little blocking API calls, and for some reason we just get some weird results. If we do look at the script, then it should be doing something pretty simple. It leverages the promise, the blocking, the callbacks, and it doesn't seem to fully work. We do get some weird errors. So that is interesting. I wonder if we go back in time, right? Like if we check out main, okay. Let me first connect. This is a poop commit. This is a tractor commit since we're moving files around. Extract JavaScript to separate files. And then we're going to call it without commit hooks. So if I do, however, check out the branch that's currently merged, then does this tool work? Is it a bug that I introduced by having it split out the JavaScript, or is it a problem? See, it's a problem that I introduced by splitting out the whole thing into separate scripts, where I was trying to be cute and it kind of backfired. So maybe we should fix this. Maybe the way to fix this would be to maybe just use M code, right? And then say in Pinocchio, the Pinocchio command experiments.js worked in commit. What was a commit? But now that we extracted the files out in jsmain.go and test.js, where do we have that? Etc. It doesn't seem to work anymore. That's it. Like, this is my new style of prompting. Just YOLO this stuff around. And what we're going to do in the meantime is we're going to use our workspace manager to actually add to the streaming support. We're going to add Jesus, right? So this is starting to annoy me. It's like all a little bit like ugly, this logging. But I'm not going to do that today because I don't want to get too distracted. I am just going to, well, I guess we have it now, right? Like we have Jesus in here. We're gonna add it to our Go work, and let's see a little bit what mcode is doing. So this is the first time I have mcode do git stuff actually. So I see it like using its like little blah blah blah, and it's examining it. I could have asked it to do that in a sub agent, right? So it was going to check what was working in that. It's now going to look at the JS main Go from back then. And now it's running the current version. It's getting to the same issue that we had. And now it's going to fix the issue. We'll see what that actually means and if it's able to do that. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see what happens here, right? So I need to restore functionality to restore the Go objects that the JavaScript files depend on. That is interesting. What are the objects that it depends on. So another thing I want to do, maybe as part of all of this, is create a separate repo. Does it need to be a separate repo, or should it just be in Jesus itself? Should Jesus be my JavaScript center as an embeddable JavaScript with all the libraries, or should I make a separate repo where I want to start putting all kinds of Go wrappers and expose them as JavaScript libraries so that I can pull in things like say a GitHub API or like a SQL API or like a Redis API, like all of these functionalities, so that you can, within the REPL, start importing, like within the Sandbox, start importing functionality. The bigger concept here for people who are new to what I'm trying to do here is basically I am going to use a JavaScript Sandbox as my main abstraction, or like not main abstraction, as my core resource for an LLM to do its work. And the LLM is going to be able to write code and execute code in this sandbox and basically build its own tools as it goes. So instead of giving it like an MCP with different GitHub functionalities to, for example, do the work that it did here, I would potentially have created a tool that's called, run old version of JS. And this run old version of JS does like a git checkout and does all kinds of things, but it is a useful tool in the context of the coding that I'm doing right now. Because what you'll see is like either it will repeat these commands all the time, right? And that's kind of fine. It will write like shell scripts to do bigger things, which is like kind of the concept of what I'm doing, but those are gone the next time I start doing my coding agent again. However, the code base doesn't really change. So I can tediously kind of like start adding scripts to the code base and adding like an agent MD that explains how to call things and whatever, but there's got to be an easier way to manage this kind of work. And especially having a JavaScript sandbox gives me more flexibility, because I can import certain libraries that already like clean things up. But also it gives me I lost my train of thought. It gives me safety in what I can do as well, right? Like it's self-contained, but it's also I lost my train of thought. I had one more thing to say, which I don't anymore. So it's fixed the issue. The JavaScript experiments no work against with the extracted files. So that was cool, right? Because it like used Git to basically check out the old version and then figure out why it was not working and restored the whole thing, and now has it all working together. And that was like the first step that I wanted, which is now I want to add like new test files that are going to test this streaming functionality that I'm about to add. You can see that my agent MD tells it to create a git commit message YAML file, right? So if I had a Git library in my JavaScript, that is part of my environment here, then I could have had I could add it automatically. I don't know. So if I go into Pinocchio, now what I can do is I can actually use this YAML file to commit. The thing is that I do need to move it to here. So this is like all a little bit janky, and I hope that with my JavaScript stuff, I'll be able to do it better. Right, and so now I can remove it. All right, does it actually run? We'll see. Command, experiments, JS, scripts, step test. Okay. Now do we have chat step test? Is this actually outputting something? Is it supposed to output something? That's an interesting question. That's why I haven't closed the thing on the right either. Hello, can you help me? Of course. What can I help you with? Interesting. Does this actually run? I am not fully sure. Does the chat step really run? I don't see any response or the like. And then I wonder if it's again a credentials issue. We don't have any env-rc in here. So what happened here with the OpenAI stuff? Execution completed, because it does have OpenAI keys, right? What was the answer in the first one? All right, so I'm going to say again, right? I don't see any response to the like. You should have all the keys set up correctly, run the old version, and then compare. And there's this thing in the chat step test. There's only testing the promise API, and then nothing else happens. So I wonder if... Oh, it's checking things out. Okay, well, gonna have to wait. See, there is like the whole streaming stuff here, and that kind of goes away when we switch back to the modern version. So hopefully this will help it do that. And I wonder if, are we back on the main branch? Okay, I wonder if there is, I think you can use log debug and log level. Actually, you can't use log level, right? No, flag needs an argument, log level trace, debug, command experiments, JS chat step test, scripts, chat step test. All right, so that's maybe something I should have told it, is that it can actually output logging as well and use that to debug, right? I don't think that's necessarily the issue. I'm going to block it here and actually help it a little bit. Check out the old version and put it in JS arg in command experiments. Then also use the log -- log level debug flag to maybe get more insight. Also compare the Pinocchio middleware thing. I also don't think the middleware thing is where the issue lies. The JS implementation is in Geppetto.js. And then I'm not sure, package.js, etc. Just like pointing it a little bit into the right direction. This is interesting. I thought this like splitting into separate files that it loads would be pretty trivial. Turns out that it doesn't seem to be. And I wonder if at this point I would have to do the thing that becomes more and more rare, which is go look into this by hand. I kind of don't want to. And also I think this is interesting to show on stream is like, okay, well, what does this look like when it goes wrong? It was very interesting to see that it is able to do this Git checkout stuff. Like I wasn't too worried about it, but it's the first time I do it. And maybe that gives you some ideas, but also seeing me struggle is, I think, always pretty interesting. So in the original, it doesn't have debug logging. That's interesting. It's getting interestingly confused here. I'm not sure what it does. It's getting like totally into the weeds. That's pretty fun. Did we commit as well? Yeah, we did. Restore the JS main.go from head. The debug logging is initialized in that new version, and you can probably paste it back to JS org. Because I think it is, I mean, at this point, might as well look into the source code. I was kind of trying to to not do it, just to show off a little bit. So if we open this and we go to workspaces, and I think this one is from yesterday, add streaming support. So if we look at, oh, it opened the wrong directory. Nice. Open folder, and then add streaming JS support. If we do look at these files over here, so if we go into JS main.go, well, sure, except I don't know why it was showing me the diff. What you can see is this is how it initializes the root command. This is how it does the logging initialization, and here as well. If we look at JS org main.go, so the thing that mcode checked out for us, it doesn't have, oh, I guess it's already edited it to add this initialization, right? This still has like a full get Pinocchio middlewares thing, which I don't think you really need. And then it has all of this manual setup of the individual tests. And I wonder why, if it's maybe just setting up the console that doesn't work, right? Because you can see the execution blocking a little bit. So I wonder if that's ultimately just the issue, or it seems like that was it, right? It's streaming started. France's final streaming response. France's population is approximately 68 million. I don't know if I've already implemented streaming, to be honest. Like, I think the streaming thing in here is actually not the right name. And what I did going forward is that I started launching a, holy shit, I just do like the weirdest stuff, right? I think this guide here is a way to do concurrency in Goja and managing modules. And so I don't know if giving it all that context is going to be all that useful. But I'm going to commit this guide into the code base just because it's funny. And I'm going to add this to Jesus. Right, so I'm in here in Jesus, and then in Jesus, I can create my standard ttemp 250516, 17 already, Jesus. And we're going to add this Goja concurrency patterns.md and paste it in here. I know it's the wrong date, but who cares? Also, I created this yesterday. So these are the kind of researches that I do in deep research, which I do print out in the morning and just like kind of read them, right? And the thing I'm interested in, I do really need to read this calmly tomorrow morning, so I'm gonna bind myself a little book. I also, oh man, I did like a bunch of interesting stuff, and I don't know if I saved it or if it's gone. I started asking for better APIs to do the event-driven things. All right, so now all the scripts work correctly, which is pretty nice. I'm going to move this to a different workspace because this is getting confusing. We're going to commit this. So we're going to go back to add streaming JS support. We're going to go into Pinocchio. We can keep or remove the JS org, but then we're going to add the JS main.go. And we're going to move the git commit over here. We're going to use YQ to commit it. And here we go. I think it actually didn't really make the greatest thing because they recreated it. That's maybe something I should add into the agent file to say don't edit it, don't make a new one each time. All right. What next? Does this work? Obviously, this wasn't streaming, right? It was just like cool. So now comes the streaming part, and this is going to be interesting. I wonder if I did it in. So no, this was a Slack bot. Goja API improvements. So this was the Express handler. Was the JS engine. And I don't know if I did any research in my cursor. I can see that there's design a streaming JavaScript API. And it stored it into 01 design streaming JS API empty. Okay, so that's good. So maybe we can look into history. What happened here? Implement design, extract JS, implement data streaming design. And kind of didn't do anything. All right, cool. So that's where we can start, right? It's I'm going to start a new AMP thread, and then I'm just going to be implement. So it's 250516. Why did I call it May? And use JS main.go and its scripts like chat step test to test the streaming API. By streaming, I mean the events published through the Watermill publisher. And hopefully that's enough. First, in a sub-agent, write a full document about how the streaming through Watermill works and how it is, for example, used by UI backend, the Pinocchio terminal UI. And maybe I should add Bobity in here. I'm going to do this, add streaming, and then I'm going to add the Bobity repo, which is where the widgets for the UI are defined. Once the document is written, implement the streaming API and a test.js script. This is kind of like repeated. So this is a pretty technical prompting that I'm doing tonight. Compared to what I've been doing the last few days. This is because I am doing some kind of tricky API design, and I didn't even design the API before. I didn't look at the API design document either. So I'm really kind of going in blind, but also this is like technical stuff. So I give it, I give it like a design document. I give it like a couple more links because this is like many repos at this point. It's not just something where I'm like, oh, go figure out what this repo does and add this like pretty simple feature on top of it. Here it has to like really connect a bunch of different parts. And these parts are have grown historically. They're not well designed. It's not the greatest abstraction. The step abstraction is not great. So it really is working against the LLM. And I'm still thinking about what I want to do with this. And maybe one of the things I will do is look at some of the JavaScript LLM APIs and figure out what to do with it. And actually, that's a pretty good idea. So I'm going to say research the different JavaScript LLM SDKs and how they deal with streaming, thinking tokens, tool calls, etc. And I'm just going to turn, I want a full write-up of each so that I can learn about them and their patterns and use that to design my own API. So there we go. And I'm just going to do all, because I don't care. So I'll come back, I'll print this out for tomorrow morning, and then bind it along with the other Goja stuff. I'm actually going to launch another research using Goja, Golang, JS, VM. How can I build modules from Go using builders like ES build, bundle the modules as Go embed, bundle the modules as Go plugins, bundle the modules as Go libraries, write a full book about this. And there we go. Bundling, so for 4, bundling Go code to expose it as modules to the JS VM. I want to have a rich ecosystem of either JavaScript modules or Go libraries like GitHub, SDK, etc. to use in my JS scripts running in Goja. I don't know if I need to add so much detail, but in this case, I have a feeling that it might go pretty haywire. Like, this tells me that it doesn't really understand what my query is about. And so hopefully this is enough to guide it into the direction I roughly want. The thing is, oh, so why didn't it do deep research here? Oh, wait, this is an old script, right? So in the meantime, I want to show you something kind of funny. Got nerd sniped about Riley Goodside posted this and said like, oh, this thing cannot reason, like some kind of rebuke, I think, of someone who said that O3 is stupid or whatever. I thought this was interesting. I'm like kind of curious, okay, well, how hard is this problem actually, right? Like it looks super hard as in like it's like self-cycling, but also, you know, how many emotion books with a certain author do exist? And like cities, there's so many that probably finding a city with a letter from A to F as its fifth letter is not all too hard. So I experimented a little bit with it. Like I quickly found through 3-4 solutions by having O3 crunch it. But then I'm going into this direction, like, you know, why don't we have like LLMs write code to solve their problem, right? Which they can do pretty well. And this is eminently like a pretty easy constraint solving problem, right? It's like, well, if you have all the novels that are an emotion and you have compute the hashes of the authors and then find a city that matches these conditions, like that's not all too hard. So I said like, oh, write an algorithm to do it. And like, it will tell me like which files to download and stuff, which it didn't do here, right? Like it just told me about where to do it. So what I did is like, just give it to Manus and have Manus build the whole thing. So this is a little experiment that I was doing, right? And I was going to see where it goes. So I just gave it the link to my ChatGPT transcript and then had it create this. This seems to be like a new widget here, maybe. I don't know. So I'm curious to see what it does. And I wonder what the sample data is, or if it's able to like get these files and all of that. So we'll see what comes out. It's working right now. We can kind of like maybe go back and see what it did, which is It looked at my transcript. It got some book lists, right? Downloaded the database. Was it able to look at the database? So it got the list, the city names. Did it get like a book list? So this is archive, right? So I guess it created a database of different emotions. And then I asked it to write something with MiniZync, which is a solver that I used. Like there's a pretty cool course on Coursera that I totally forgot about. But the discrete optimization course was really, really fun. The professor's really into it. And this is all about constraint programming and all of that. So I hope it's still the same dude. He was like dressed like Indiana Jones. I guess it's not the same guy anymore. Maybe there's like more of them. Advanced modeling, like a modeling. No, so it's someone else holding it. Man, that course was awesome. I'm sure it's still good, right? I'm sure it's still great. And the name Stucky rings a bell. I don't remember. Explore more. So it was definitely these. Haha, it's this guy. It's Professor Pascal von Hendenrick. He was awesome. So this course has a lot of MiniZync. It has like all of these programming things. And I think that's like a nice tool to know for AI stuff as well, because it's discrete optimization is something that happens quite often in what we do. So let's go have a look at the webpage that it built for us. So yeah, I told you that there's going to be many solutions. So let me post that. Oh. Because the funny thing is about this, which I was gonna is that actually you don't need O3, right? Like creating this algorithm, creating the algorithm, you don't really need O3 at all. This is something that Sonnet 3.5 can do, and then find how many solutions do we have? Yeah, this is hilarious. I love it. Because basically for every emotion, anger, like there's so many, just like I don't know. It's hilarious. I love it. All right, maybe I should respond to that thing here, just to get a little bit of Twitter clout. Models are pretty good at outputting what ends up being a fairly simple discrete optimization problem, at outputting an algorithm to solve what ends up being a does that negate O3's awesomeness? Of course not, but it's something that is a prompting technique that is often missed. And then I'll just paste this. And maybe you can make it like a little bit nicer. And should I paste the link here as well? Maybe I should. What am I doing? Mini-Zinc is pretty cool. All right. Anyway, where were we? Where were we? This is a good X course. Like this was kind of fun, and I love these like little puzzles because they they just allow me to explore. What you can do. I also see that I have one that I don't even remember what this was about. Right, a mock AI LLM coding agent orchestration that uses CRDs for tasks and artifacts and other things in Kubernetes by running K3s. Use operator framework. Test it for real by running K3s. I don't think it was able to run K3s, right? Ah, interesting. Interesting, all of this. So here it's to coordinate LLM agents, right? Like it would be nice to have like a big blackboard with all kinds of resources and requests on there. And I think Kubernetes is a pretty good fit to run this kind of stuff because you can build operators, is what they're called. They listen to a certain type of resource. So, for example, here a task or an artifact, and they basically run a loop where they're just like reconciling the resource and checking if they got changed, right? And so they look at tasks, and if they see that a task is pending, I guess, then they can like start it and then assert it. Like I will have to look at this a little bit more closely. This was mostly to see, can it actually run K3s? Because if Manus was able to run K3s, it would like change a lot of things for me. But I think everything Docker, it just like doesn't like at all. All right, our deep research about Goja module system has finished, so I'm going to print that for tomorrow. And I think I printed the last one in non-binding, which was not good. So flip on long edge. All right, off you go. Where were we in terms of our M code? What did it do? So create a sub-agent to document how watermetal streaming works. Okay, we do need to do this go work use dot, right? So what document did it write in our sub-agent? Okay, create a sub-agent. It kind of didn't write a document, right? Interesting. So why is it not able to module deploy? That is so fucking annoying. Why is it telling me that? But go work lists. This is something I ran into before. I'm like, I have no idea what it means, because the go.work is 1.24.3. I wonder if it's the PLS, or like what the fuck this is. This is very weird. I had this before. I think it's because I added boba tea after it like ran, because it's evidently able to compile this properly. And oh, the subagent finished. I think this is the PLS, like the language server. I'm not sure what is going on here. So we're not going to worry too much about it just yet. Where are these PLSs running? They're all running in cursor. And then we have one for AMP. Has 13 threads. All right, but I think it's this one. I got started at a time where I made a boo-boo. So all right, but we're getting closer. I have no idea what it's doing though. So that's a little bit concerning. We're gonna add all of these to our working. Then we have design streaming JS API. So that's fine. That's where we put our document in. And then I wonder what this looks like. So this is event stream JS Go, which has an event adapter, does a new JS event stream. It has an event loop. It gets steps event in. It has a cancel function. So I guess that is somewhere where it has add async iterator support. I wonder where this symbol async iterator comes from. And this looks like it was hallucinated. Async iterator, Goja, Golang. Goja package, async contracts tracker. So maybe the async iterator was not the best idea overall. It might be that it doesn't work. And I think it's not all that important either. I was trying to be like a maximalist. So this might be something interesting to add to our workspace, is just git clone Goja, right? And then if we go into Goja, do we even have an async iterator? We don't. So we can say there is not even an async iterator in Goja. So let's skip all of that feature and focus on the others. Yeah, this is really, not only is it a complicated territory, right? Because we're doing like async and Go and a VM, that's JavaScript that I don't know fully. I used to know more about this async Goja stuff, but I forgot all of it. So this is really kind of like wading in like unknown territory, which, I always like doing. That's how you progress. The thing that worries me is that maybe the guide I gave it is just hallucinated. And because the PLS doesn't work, right, like it could be that this looks like it was duplicated, right? Also, it doesn't seem to remember that go build is something that it should remember. Or even that this new JS event stream is something that it needs. Like, this is weird. Because clearly it's here in event stream JS. Like, there's something weird, fishy going on here. There is something that confuses not only the PLS, but I think the compiler as well. Because now it's starting to migrate stuff across files. See, it's like maybe the issue is with the Go module system. Let's put the both function in the same file temporarily. Like, it's getting confused about files and compiler stuff. So this is often like a good moment to stop. So maybe we could do that, right? It's it also seems confused by not being able to rebuild every time the Go build. Like, that's weird. See, it's now able to do like the Go PLS and then, all right, so we could maybe see if this works. So yeah, I am a little bit skeptical about what this is all about. Deleted this file. I'm a little bit skeptical about all of this. Like, maybe I should have actually understood what I was going to do. No, this is like the right amount of events. This is the right type. Conflicting types. It cannot be both events, package steps event, and package events event. What does that even mean? All right. All right. But so what does that actually mean? Pattern on, start, stream, cancel, edit, streaming test. So what does streaming test look like? On start, final, event emitter, double step. What is double step? What is double step? Is that something that is set up here? All right, but this thing has like no events at all, so it's like not the right thing to test with. We're gonna say that streaming test should actually test a chat completion stream. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quit and I'm going to resume threads continue. Actually, let me install the latest version because they tend to update this quite often. Let's continue this thread and we're going to say for testing the streaming, use a proper... What's the sub agent still doing, by the way? See, like there's a watermill streaming architecture here. Okay, this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool. I like that. Use a proper chat step. See, chat step test. And then, do we have a JavaScript MD? Yeah. Update with the new API in a sub agent. Write and test in a sub agent. Once it is all done, all right, and the reason I use sub agents is so that now that in my main agent, right, we're 50%, we're at 50% of the context window. The meat of it is the implementation of the streaming thing. Like we have all these boo-boos of it, like removing stuff from a file to the right and to the left. That's a little bit annoying. But fixing that and modifying it, now I don't want to add all of that work to the main discussion because it probably won't change very much to the API. And then I do want to write this document in a separate subagent as well because it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. What I want is the document itself. So we'll see. I'm still experimenting with subagents, right? Like because I don't have much visibility into the context window, what it contains, and what technique to really prompt it. It's like it's a little bit hard for me to see, and ultimately I don't think subagents are like that good of a pattern for coding context window management. So, which is why I want to build my own, and to build my own, of course, I have to do like 18 things beforehand so that I never get to it and just procrastinate my life away. Which is why I'm building a JavaScript VM with like all kinds of weird promises for streaming and all of that instead of using what I already have, which is a JavaScript VM that is able to do LLM calls already and like kind of leverage that to do cool stuff, which maybe I should do. I actually haven't, since I moved this to Jesus, I actually also haven't like really tested how Jesus works. And I think see, I've never even compiled it, so. All right, well, at least, you know. Oh, it's like update go mod to actually compile. All right, I'm going to do 20 more minutes because I don't know why I do streams so late. I really should do them in the morning, but in the morning I like being at the coffee shop, just like reading my printouts. On Saturday I do them in the morning, so. And the next stream is going to be Thursday, 8 p.m. again as well. Where we're going to be continuing on this and potentially, potentially what? Potentially make a coding agent or something. I'm not sure. So this is interesting, right? Because in Jesus itself, I can execute a JavaScript file with Geppetto AI functionality. So does that mean that actually my Pinocchio files work with Jesus? I don't know if it was a stupid name to name it Jesus, but we'll go with it. Like if I do embeddings test, does that work? Run scripts, too many arguments, because I do need to do -F. Running embeddings tests. Test failed map. Test failed map. Test failed. Okay. That's not all too promising. Chat step test. Test failed. Error map. So that's maybe a good way to start here. It's I want to be able to execute the same scripts in Jesus run scripts, right? Like, do we have a command for that? Where's the run scripts? Run scripts.go. Then in Pinocchio JS main.go, for example, chat step test. Oh my god. Chat step test JS. Since they ultimately use the same underlying Pinocchio JS engine, JavaScript API. And I don't know how clever it is to do that while we're testing this in a sub-agent, because if Pinocchio doesn't compile, then of course this is going to be tricky. But if you have compilation errors in the Geppetto module, which we are working on in parallel, stop and I'll tell you when things are safe. All right, this might be another thing we can get going today, is that Jesus is able to execute the same scripts as my test thing in Pinocchio. And if that's the case, then I can actually start messing about with running LLM inference in Jesus when it's loaded as an MCP, because Jesus is actually an MCP that exposes the JavaScript sandbox. And it allows you to register an HTTP handler inside the JavaScript and basically build full web applications in JavaScript from inside an MCP. And then one of the functionality that I'm starting to add as libraries, right? Like this research that I did about adding modules, is that my after this, I have a SQLite module. Module is a big name. I have an HTTP server, and now the next thing I want to add is like basically inference and embeddings. And then the next step is going to be with embeddings. I can do vector search written in JavaScript already, but like maybe add a search engine that's a little bit more flexible than that, using say Blevy. Or exposing Elasticsearch, but that's a little bit too much, I think. I'd like to have everything like self-contained in a single binary. So it's adding the done callback support to Jesus engine. Okay, so I see. Gonna be interesting. I wonder, this guy seems stuck. I had this before, where it was just like stuck in this like running tool. So we'll see. This was a sub agent. I'm gonna continue in the main thread because why not, you know? And then it's weird that go run again is something that it asks me about. I don't know what's going on with the sub agents on the left. Like, we'll see. I'm gonna give it a little bit more chance still. So it's now going from reading file to running commands. Like maybe I interrupted it too early. Like who knows? So here it says error with conversation map. Object has no member add message. I hope it's able to figure that out. That seems like some pretty funky stuff. I wonder why it works in the Pinocchio version. Let me check what might be affected by removing the tag field mapper. No, what I'm going to say is keep the field name mapper and add it to Pinocchio as well. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on over here. Does that mean it's still running? How do I know that? What does running tool mean? And if I get this running, I'm already going to be happy as a result. All right, this is annoying me. Just do it in the main thread. But I'm going to wait for this to finish since we kind of rely on Geppetto. And we seem pretty close. Oh, it's using sub-agents to updating them in parallel. How fun. So that sub-agent finished. And running tool means it's running a sub-agent tool, I guess. It's also not running them in parallel because there's 4 more files. So it's going to take a while. Should I gamble and start it here? Like, this is the point where doing these like kind of lightweight kind of forks would be interesting and something I could add to the workspace manager to just be like, I don't know exactly how that would be possible because I want to do it like midway in the thread. So I'm going to add lightweight forks when needing a safe version to compile against. All right, so we're going to run this. It's weird because go run is something that I've repeatedly added to the AMP code. See, it's asking me again. Or is it recognizing that go run actually is the third argument? Maybe. Yeah, because now it run it. Okay. So it's getting clever about Go. Yeah, I don't think that's the issue though. With the chat steps test, it is not running it because it's weird. It's doing the same weird thing that we had before where it's like not showing any info, which is run Jesus chat step test with -- log level debug to get more insight. It should work just the same. And yeah, if I get Jesus to do calls, then that will be nice. It could also be that it tries to use a certain profile as well, and then that seems wrong. That kind of seems wrong. Result captured, returning promise, make star async called, chat step test. And then if we compare that to what happens in Pinocchio, experiments.js, run log level debug, commands experiments.js, scripts, chat step test. See, it blocks here at sending message request. So this matches this. Testing promise API, make start async called, returning promise, JavaScript execution result captured. That's the weird one, right? This is doing returning promise, and then it's not calling the whole thing. Starting step. Yeah, there's a problem with the promises, right? This is the execution in Jesus with -- log level debug -- with caller. And this is in JS. May not go. I think Jesus doesn't know how to wait on the top level promise. So much fun when you don't know what you're doing. And also my brain is not going to figure it out. That's why I'm giving it like a little bit of YOLO. And with all the stuff that I've printed out, tomorrow morning, I might actually do a proper design pass and kind of look at what I have. Because at this point, I know that the fundamentals work, right? Like the main wiring that I wanted to do is like getting all the keys and arguments and all of that stuff wired in. And then what's happening with promises, that is something where I do need a little bit more insight into Go and how this all hangs together, because this kind of stuff, like I'm like, okay, well, I have no idea if that's good or not. What this stun is about? Do we need this stun in the first place? Is that a good design? All of these things are not all that useful. I wonder why I have to do like the go run always each time, because it has done go run command Jesus in the past, right? Okay, so it did get it. Okay. All right, this is cool. All right, so we can do this. So that's cool. This is in Jesus, and then in Geppetto, I guess we can just do workspace manager status, which will tell us. In Geppetto we have these modified files. In Pinocchio we have these, and in Jesus we have these stage files. All pretty cool. So what changed here? Oh, the field mapper, of course. Use the same name field mapper as Jesus. And what? No. It's like, yeah. Wait, what is it doing here? Oh, it's because I started modifying the convention in the other console. That was a little bit YOLO. So in Jesus, we do have this run Pinocchio experiments scripts. All right, and it's 10 p.m. Let's wait until this one session finishes. Hopefully, maybe we'll even get like streaming output to work. It feels like we're probably pretty close. Let me recreate the file. What the heck? I wonder what this commands is. Sounds so ominous. Okay, this looks interesting. This looks very, very promising, to be honest. One of the next steps is going to be exposing tools to the LLM that are defined in JavaScript. Because that would be fucking fantastic. Yeah, this might be going too far here because I think it doesn't really understand how to do the look at watermill streaming architecture to see how you register a publisher to receive the events. This might be a little bit too much to get the model to understand that for tonight, and maybe a good thing to start again tomorrow. But we made some progress. Like I'm pretty happy. We're getting closer because now Jesus can do this LLM calling, right? It's like if I do go run command. Well, actually, what we could do. Oh, we're in Jesus itself, right? It's like add/load to load a file into the Repl in repl.go. We'll see what happens. All right, see, I pointed at the watermill, and now it knows how to do this. And this might just be like a not good API in the Go version of it. It might just not be great. And it's something I need to modify anyway. Yeah, because we do need to run like the watermill loop and all of these things. I think that's going to be a little bit too much for today, so I'm going to stop it here. However, we do have our load thing here. Found event adapter unwrapping this. Yeah, this seems to be. I really have to rethink how to do this this event stuff, because the way it's built is so that these events can actually go out on Kafka or Redis, even though they're only used for the UI internally. Because I wanted this to be like a big agent framework 3 years ago already. 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I over-engineered it in a way, or I didn't know enough. Well, there wasn't actually streaming LLM completion back when I started. And this was the days of, 4,000 token context windows. So my idea on how to build agents was very different from what it is today, which is like, how do you fit an agent in like 4,000 tokens? But now things are different. I'm going to have to think about this. And however, having Jesus have a load file, that could be pretty cool to just try out as a success kind of for the end, right? It's like if I do Repl and then I do load, and then if I go back to my, what is it called? Add streaming JS support. And then I go into Pinocchio commands, experiments, JS scripts. So if I load, and then what? Chat step test. And executed object promise. Oh, so the REPL should be able to execute awaits. The object returned. Well, can I say? What is this file in the first place? Maybe this is also something for tomorrow, the promise. So it returns an async function, and then it runs the run chat step test as an async promise. If the load returns a promise, await it. Because I do want to have like an LLM inference happening in my REPL. That would be really sick. Oh, and I should have yeah, there's all kinds of things I can do now, right? It's like control C'ing it, adding make it a 30-second timeout. Like building the REPL also needs some architecture now because it's a bubble T thing. I don't know how the VM thread is handled. Like, can I press control C while it's waiting for a promise? All of those kinds of things are things that I want to continue adding. And we'll see what happens. So if I at least get, oh shit, wrong terminal. Anyway, if I do now do the load, and then chat step test.js. Something gonna happen? Unclear. All right, well, all of this async stuff, gonna have to have a think about it. So let me see, does this work? Let me actually just do an embeddings test. Yeah, there seems to be something that's hanging, which I guess is some kind of loop that's not running, that needs to be ticked to get to it. So we're gonna call it a night here. Slowly making progress on our JavaScript, and now it's like getting a little bit finicky with a real event-driven architecture and promises running in an interactive loop. All of that requires, I think, a little bit of brain before I continue. So we're gonna stop here. We're gonna add this. We're gonna say poop, add loading of files and executing promises, broken, seems to hang. Gonna not run our git commit hook. Then what is happening in here? Man, this was a nice previous script. I don't know. I'm just gonna commit it. Who cares? Pimp up streaming test file. We're gonna push all of these things. Does VSM have a push? Okay. So now the last one that we need to do is, I think, Geppetto. So this is poop, sparkles, adding async streaming for JavaScript. Broken probably needs running the event loop, no, the watermill router. Actually here also without the commit hooks. And I think now we should be able to move this as well to, now we're gonna, no, this is good. We're gonna copy it actually. I'm copying it because I know that that the AMP session over there is hanging on to it. So we'll see. So this is going to be 02 watermill streaming architecture.md, which probably needs a note about running the router. No, this is books because it's documentation. Add watermill streaming architecture documentation. All right, and then now if I do VSM push to my remote, it's going to push all. Yeah. Target repository not found or target remote. Push this to Vazen, yes. Oh, look at that. I haven't forked it yet. Yes. Git remote rename origin, no, upstream, no, origin Vazen, upstream origin. So I'm gonna do the same here. Not to the git, because formatting and fixing the lints is gonna mess with the M code, so I'm leaving that for the end, right? even if those could potentially be useful, they're usually more like nitpicks. So that's why I want to avoid this. And then the workspace manager pushes all 3 branches, and it's like it's all good. Now it's all backed up, and I really like this tool that ironically I've never read the documentation, the source code to. It's entirely vibe coded, and I use it every day. It's just brilliant. It looks pretty. It has like all these features. When I wanted to have a feature, right, like has this been merged, and I just said like, oh, please add a column if the repo has been merged, and it figured stuff out. So if I now look at the status here, it doesn't tell me if it has been pushed, which would also be like a nice feature to add, right? So that's what I could waste my time on, just adding features to this stuff. And sometimes I do, right? Like sometimes I'll be, I have an M code that I have some brain cells left that could take one more M code, and then I'll start it and just like add whatever list of features I've written up on my little index cards. So this is actually add forking to workspace manager, for example. Add rollback across repos. Those kinds of things. Anyway. There was a stream, not as successful as I wanted, but also a little bit successful. And incremental is how you win the game. Incrementing little tools. All right, so there we go. Have a good night.